Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're doing well out there. So in today's video, I wanted to talk with you a bit about delusions during a psychedelic experience, because sure enough, if you take psychedelics long enough, you will have some sort of a delusional moment or a delusional journey. Perhaps the whole trip will be delusional. And I wanted to share my thoughts on how to handle that, what to do about that in terms of dealing with delusions, both during a journey and then after a journey. So if you're interested in how to handle these kind of weird, crazy kind of beliefs or perceptions or kind of delusional kind of modes we get into, please do join me for the conversation. So like I said in the introduction here, if you're using psychedelics at any point in your psychedelic journey, it's entirely possible that you will end up having delusions during a trip, either for part of the trip or for the entirety of the trip. And sometimes those delusions can leave you questioning what's real or what's true even after the trip, okay? Now, I want to sort the wheat from the chaff here and be clear that I'm talking about just cognitive misinterpretations or projections or perceptual shifts that leave you questioning truth, leave you questioning what's going to happen in the future, or, this kind of a thing. And I realize that that can start to overlap a bit with what perhaps are some either spiritual experiences in one direction or kind of psychotic and psychosis symptoms in another direction here. And that all this can be a bit of a murky territory here. I'm not trying to really cover what to do if you have a full-blown psychotic episode or a manic episode on psychedelics. That's not really where I'm going with this, although you might find something useful here. I'm also not really talking about what to do or what to do with an actual spiritual experience you have. That could be a whole other set of videos, quite frankly. But this is really about delusion. So basically, for lack of better definition here, let's say a delusion is when you have some sort of a thought or a belief or perception that starts to pop up, or thought loop more likely, that involves some sort of projection onto reality, right? And a misunderstanding of the truth of how things actually are. So this is often some form of fantasizing, some form of desire, some form of perhaps fearful projection. There's a lot of projecting, and I don't mean projecting in the sense of you're doing the thing, but you're calling someone else the thing that you're doing. That's not what I mean here. I mean projecting as in extrapolating out, imagining, kind of fantasizing, for lack of a better way of putting it. Okay, so I know that's a very sloppy, loose definition of delusion, but let's just roll with it here. Hopefully that kind of makes sense to you. So if you're having a delusional experience on a psychedelic, okay, the first piece of advice I can offer you is obviously to not fight it, right? Because this is like Psychedelics 101, how to avoid bad trips and have it work out for you. Don't fight your experience. Period, end of story. Don't resist, don't control, don't manipulate, don't push back. Don't fight your experience. Allow your experience to arise and be whatever it is and sort it out later. So that applies here very much when it comes to delusional thinking. If you're having some sort of a, delusion, you might also be a bit disturbed by that. You might be self-aware that this is a delusion, or you might be aware how much this is like wishful thinking or fearful thinking or paranoid thinking, but yet you can't help it. Just allow it to be there. That's my first piece of advice. I know that's not maybe what you want to hear, but it's the most effective way, frankly, having run the test a million times. This is the most effective way to deal with it. Just allow that thought to be there. Allow that perception, allow that feeling. Know that you're on a psychedelic. Remember that you're on a psychedelic, and just let it be there, and let it be this strange twist on thinking or on understanding reality for however long it lasts, okay? So while you are allowing it to be there, you can kind of like either be entertained by it, you can explore it, you can get curious about it. You could be curious about where that's coming from in you. You could also be curious about where the truth part of that delusion might be and where the untruth of that might be. You could explore it, but don't resist it. And if exploring it is too weird because it's some really bizarre delusion and you know it's a delusion and you're like, this is so weird, then what I would do is just allow yourself to have those thoughts as they are, and then sort that out after the trip, during integration, as you're coming back down, as you're grounding. Start to figure out, okay, well, I got hung up here, and and start to maybe make some sense out of where that was coming from, or start to do some therapeutic work around that if need be. But basically, let yourself have that experience in the journey and then sort it out afterwards. Is my major piece of advice here. There are other things you can do, cognitively with delusions. We're not going to get into that into this video because I want to make another video about cognitive tools for psychedelics and what's really useful in psychedelics from my point of view. But the other thing that I want to just remind you of here, which is one of the primary tools, quite frankly, mental health in general and with psychedelics in general. And if you're not doing this, you should be, because it is a game changer and makes all the difference. Practicing mindfulness. Okay. So the other thing you should do here, if you start to have delusions, is just go into mindfulness mode and witness those delusions. Just kind of check them out, explore them, get curious about them, allow yourself to, notice these thoughts without identifying with those thoughts, if that makes sense. So this is another major tool, just mindfulness and cultivating a sense of detachment, a sense of witnessing without reacting or identifying with or getting sucked into whatever the delusion is telling you, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's, immediate or big picture or what have you. Simply sit and contain it and witness it and just be curious with it, or just watch it. Okay. That's frankly the best thing you can do in these situations. Okay. From a neuroscience angle here, a delusion is probably, my guess, this is just a guess, could be wrong. If you're a neuroscientist and you're watching this and you have, please, leave a comment, augment this information. But my best understanding is, since psychedelics cause all the different brain regions to start to crosstalk in new ways that they normally don't and connect in new ways that they normally don't, it seems inevitable that some of the times that we take psychedelics, brain regions will connect up in a certain way that will create a certain rationalization or a certain perception or a certain kind of conclusion that we arrive at, a meaning, and it'll feel very salient. It'll feel very real. It'll feel very true and like alive in our body as an actual thing. Weirdly, sometimes that's also how epiphanies and realizations come. So it's hard to sort one from the other there. But when those happen, right, we want to just understand that neurologically what's happening is our brain is cross-talking in new ways and presenting us with whole new angles on reality that hadn't normally occurred to us. But that doesn't mean they're true or real necessarily. My favorite thing to do with this is, again, to just let it happen and then really reality test even epiphanies that seem true or seem useful or seem valuable, right? Not just delusions, but let's say you have an aha. What I like to do is what's called quality controlling the thinking afterwards. So to really, as you come down, start to run, explorations of that from different cognitive angles and really unpack, what was useful there for you and what wasn't useful there, because maybe there's some emotional truth in these things that's somehow relevant or useful. Maybe there is some sort of perspective that was just, interesting or liberating, or, or maybe it was just emotional thinking, because you do think emotionally first, and then we give cognitive rational frameworks to that after the fact, right? So another way this could go down is quite simply that your brain kind of got agitated from the psychedelic and there's some emotional thinking that came up, and then it kind of latched into a groove and kind of kept repeating, but it's just emotional thinking fundamentally. So this is part of the territory. In summary, this is part of the territory. This is to be expected. This is something to just kind of hold lightly. Don't get too scared about. Don't get too horrified about. Certainly don't act upon. Do kind of just calmly take it as part of the way the medicine works on the brain. Integrate it afterwards, or don't integrate it afterwards if it's not useful. And, test it, explore it, play with it after the fact. But in the moment, really the best thing we can do is just kind of witness these delusions, smile at them, and let them be there. So I hope that's helpful. See you guys in another video soon.